Hi, folks. Welcome to Leadership and Innovation Unlocked with Inclusive Collective, where we bring you news and analysis of the latest in people and workplace culture and share stories and learnings of leaders and organizations driving performance and innovation through inclusion. I am your co-host, Rob Hadley, people and culture strategist specializing in operational excellence transformations and analytics. I am joined by my dear friend, Dr. Nadia Butt, a workplace culture strategist and talent development consultant. Nadia.
Yes. How are we doing?
How are you doing?
Well, just swimmingly.
Things are going great.
Things are good, just getting feedback.
Yeah. So, tell me about your feedback. You're getting feedback about the show?
About the show, yeah. I thought
what do you got?
I really wanted to
You got some feedback about my appearance,
well,
right?
people love your glasses and want you to continue wearing them, So that's
Okay.
that. I got feedback that I should, put my hair a certain way. From people I love, so I appreciate the feedback.
Yeah.
They're looking out for me.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, no.
Yeah.
I actually have been getting some feedback from people, through people, where like our podcast was brought up in a conversation at work, and oddly enough, it was shared that like 3 people that like I don't know, listened to our podcast and really look forward to like hearing our deets and like our take on the news and the updates. And so I thought that was really fun to hear.
That is awesome. Yeah. And, one of the things you can see on the analytics that, since we came back for season 5, you can see the plays of old episodes, right? So there are a few people that even have gone back and have been listening to some of the older episodes. So you can see that, and that's really cool. So if you are one of those people, reach out, let us know what your thoughts are. Also got an email, right? I remember I pleaded for an email.
Yes, you did.
Like a couple weeks ago, a couple episodes ago. Got an email from Brian from New York. He said he really liked the show with Adina.
Oh, cool.
Thanks,
of course, Brian,
speaking of course of Dr. Adina Nichols, who is fantastic and really great episode. So thank you, Brian. Yes. Tell us more, Brian. Tell us what you liked about the episode. Yeah. You can go into detail, Brian, from New York. We appreciate it.
I love it. I'll also just add, like, I feel like our episodes are timeless in the sense that, like, our news aren't necessarily, because I think we're getting we're providing current news updates, but our interviews and our conversations with our guests are really like, they're components you can listen to a month from now or a year from now, and it would still be relevant.
Evergreen.
Yeah.
Evergreen content.
Evergreen. I love that. Great. Cool. Thanks. So today on Leadership and Innovation Unlocked, we're talking about the hottest new trend, microshifting. We'll also talk about a New Mexico jury's decision against Meta. And we're going to revisit some of our 2026 predictions that we gave earlier this year and talk about whether we want to hedge or not. But first, let's get to the deets. So, Rob, what's going on this week?
Nadia, we've been waiting for it, and finally it's here.
Is it?
Right? It's a new trend with a catchy new term. I've been dying for a new trend. We've been talking about remote work and quiet quitting forever.
Sure.
So we got this new thing. It's called microshifting. It made it to the AP this week. This is the practice of a flexible scheduling approach that involves tackling job duties in short, productive bursts instead of a single 9-to-5 stretch. The paid labor fits around and between non-work responsibilities and priorities. Performance is judged by output with less emphasis on the number of hours logged sitting behind your desk. Nadia, isn't this how everyone works?
I mean, this is how we've been working for years.
It's like, oh, this new trend, all right?
Trend,
so I don't know. Let's. You tell me what your work routine is, but I mean, I get up 6:30 to 7:30. I'm checking emails, take my son to school. I go burst until noon. Then I work out. Then I work from like 1 to 3 or 4. Then I got a school pickup, practices. Right, I do work in my car or on a picnic table somewhere.
Sure, yeah, maybe watching your
home,
your son's soccer game or something like that.
Yeah. Come home, make dinner, do more work. Right, like 1 to 3 hour chunks. That's all you're getting out of me.
Well,
right?
And I think there's something to be said about that in terms of like productivity or like boosts of energy. But no, I I would say like very similarly. That's how I've been working for a number of years, and I find myself to be very productive. There's some mornings I wake up and I go straight to work, and then I really have, as you know, really been consistent with the gym. And there's a certain group class, fitness class that I love going to. It's in the middle of the day, and I really
Hmm.
block that out 3 times a week. So I go. I look the group that goes, and I've made that a priority. But I think like just in terms of like benefits of shifting that work into either chunks or doing work throughout the day, getting up, kind of taking breaks, doing some errands perhaps, but then coming back to the work. For me, it's a matter of like reducing my burnout. It's a matter of me having more energy. I think it also like when I think of how many appointments that I either have to go on for myself or for my parents, say for example, for caregiving. I think it's just like a
Right.
really flexible way to be able to work and still be productive and still meet my goals, right? So I think
Right.
that's like one of the things that I really loved about this recent research that they showed is like that flexibility. And I would imagine like the major driver for retention and engagement in organizations, right? But what do you so what
I
else are
would
you
say
hearing?
I mean, I find it annoying.
When
Like
what?
this is not my preferred way of working, but it's an option,
It's
right?
an option.
Because
Oh, it's
I
not your
work
preferred way.
remotely and
Tell me
flexible.
more. I didn't know that. Okay.
So I sometimes certainly miss not task shifting, right? And
Ah,
so
good.
sometimes I'm with a client where I have to be on site. So it's really nice to be locked in and blocked, like the time block, right? You go
Sure.
in and you go out. So this is both an argument for and
Yeah.
against the
Sure.
office, right? So it just depends on the person, depends on the context. But I do think about my time all the way back in like the finance department, and if you think about like just people being on
Yep.
site and how much waste there is there
Mm-hmm.
sometimes and inefficiency,
Yeah.
right? And how much excess capacity there is in some
Sure.
jobs, right? Like I used to say like you could walk through the cubicles and watch people clicking off their fantasy football
Yeah.
or like whatever they were
Yeah.
doing, And so someone going to the office and then not doing any work is probably the most inefficient thing of all.
Yeah.
So it's like
Agree.
so it's
Yeah.
not, so someone could point to this and say, "Well, see, you should be focused on a task." But in truth, when people go to the office, they're not necessarily focused on tasks all the time either,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yes, there's certainly trade-offs, but I also like you said something that I just want to go back to. I think it's like it's dependent on the person and the
Yeah,
personality and kind of their learning style and ways of engaging, right? Like, there's probably folks that would really benefit from this and some folks that would be like, this isn't my style. And I
exactly.
think what this actually speaks to is how there's probably a lot of pressure on leaders to shift from managing time to managing more of the outcomes of the work, right?
Mm,
To be more like intentional about the rhythm of the team and the expectations, like having clarity around what the expectations of the work are. I think that's sort of like what I took out of the research and sort of what I took out of like what folks are, what their preference is in doing
right.
work or their style of work. But it was really fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%. I love, hold that thought because we have a new term.
I
I'm just so
know.
excited.
I
So
know. I
thank
know you
you
love the
to
new
for
word.
that.
Yeah, yeah, the new
I
phrases,
just like new terms to
microshifting.
argue over, right?
Yeah,
So thank you for that. What
absolutely.
else? What do you got for
Yeah,
us,
so I have a
Nadia?
pretty landmark case that I want to discuss. So recently, a New Mexico jury found that Meta knowingly harmed children's mental health and safety and misled the public about the risks, hitting them with a $375 million penalty. New Mexico jurors sided with the state prosecutors who argued that Meta, which owns Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp, prioritized profits over safety and violated parts of the state's Unfair Practices Act. This really just
Hmm.
kind of signals growing pressure on social media companies to be accountable for their impact, especially on kids. So I'm just curious, like, what's your take on this? Do you see this as a turning point on how companies are regulated, or more of like a one-off case? Like, what are your reactions?
Yeah, and there was a second jury verdict as well afterward, talking about the way that both Facebook and YouTube had designed their features to be addictive, and so that was the second thing that
Yes.
came out right after this one.
Yep.
And so, Nadia, I cannot, from a legal standpoint,
Of course.
even though I like
Yeah,
to
I know.
sometimes,
Sometimes you love to.
weigh
Yeah.
in. So there's a lot of great podcasts to be able to weigh in on that, what it means. What I hope it means is that there's cases like this in the 40 other states, right? So I hope that means that there are going to be a lot more of these trials and jury verdicts against these
Sure.
companies, and they'll start to make some changes to the way they do business. In the case that you're talking about, they had a $375 million fine
Mm-hmm.
for Facebook, and their stock actually went up because that is such a tiny amount of money for them, which is
Isn't
also
that
mind
wild?
blowing.
I know.
But I mean, so personally, I'm exhausted
Yes.
of these platforms, right? And the way that they behaved. I hope that it's a turning point. I hope that there's a crack in their armor here, and that Americans will stop tolerating this, right? And so
Yeah.
I think about our show. We're talking about workplace, and I was thinking about, like, how much better would workplace culture be if Facebook didn't exist, right? People feel the same about LinkedIn, right? A lot of people feel that way as
Yeah.
well, right? So
Yeah.
we've lost the ability to communicate, to concentrate, to focus. Incivility is at an all time. Some people would say it's at an all time high. Um, you know, Pillars of our democracy, like the free press, have been destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
People are always preening for the camera. For instance, me and my glasses, right? For
I
example,
know.
right? So it's like
Yeah.
we could really improve the workplace if social media was a little bit more responsible in the
I
way that they
think
develop their
that's the
products.
key is the responsibility aspect for me. Like, just building upon what you said, I think that this really ties back to organizational culture and even like product design, right? Like companies are making these choices where, what they prioritize, what they measure, what they reward, and then that shows up in the products that they put into the world. So for me, it's a reminder that culture isn't just like internal. We have to think about how this extends to like our customers, to the
Mm-hmm.
communities in which we live in or work in, and then for me it raises a bigger question for leaders: like, are we designing the products and systems responsibly, like you said, right? Or just
Yep.
optimizing for growth and capital at any costs. That's kind of what I
Yes,
was
that
taking
one.
away from
That
it,
one is what's actually, yeah,
right?
that's what's happening.
Capitalism.
And so more to come. I think we both hope that it's the start of something, of a shift, a little bit.
Sure,
But I appreciate we'll probably be back on that beat several times as well going forward, hopefully.
totally.
So, Nadia, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back on Leadership and Innovation Unlocked. All right, Nadia, we are back. We made some
We
predictions at the
did.
beginning of the
Yes.
year, and I was sitting here thinking, hey, let's revisit some of the things that we talked about, see if there's anything that we want to
Yeah.
change. Because I was like, well, it's about mid-year,
Yeah.
right? Like we've,
It's about mid-year. Yeah, we're
but it's
like
not.
mid.
It's
It's quarterly.
it's
It's
10 weeks into
quarterly.
the year. We're like 10 weeks in the year. It feels like the
It
longest
feels the
year
longest
of
2026
all time.
ever.
So tell
Hmm.
me if you look back at the predictions you made,
Yeah.
give me one that you want to talk about.
Yeah.
You
I
want to
mean,
update us
so
on how it's
one
going.
of the first ones that I said was actually, and I was such like a big believer of this, but I was actually wondering if DE and I would become more integrated or become more performative.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'd love to hear, I can't wait to hear your opinion on this, but I think we're landing right now is actually like a bit of both, at
Yeah.
least from the clients that I speak to, and then just observing like workplaces. I think I do observe that organizations are continuing to try to integrate maybe in a different way or a different name, for example. I don't necessarily think they're being performative. I think they are trying to integrate it into their systems, into like their hiring processes, into their promotional processes, really design products related to how they might view DE&I as well as like through AI. And on the extreme other side, I definitely see where it's been like dropped 100%, not even performative.
Yeah.
It's just like, nope, We're not integrating it. We're dropping
We're
it.
good. Yeah.
So yeah, just what are your thoughts? Any like reaction to that prediction?
Well, I think so. I agree with all of that. I would say that even at its best, well, at its
Mm-hmm.
best, or what we were shooting for was something that you and I think, believed was that the best DEI work is systems based. It is integrating these concepts into the organizational systems,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that it becomes part of the way that we do business. It's part of the way that we manage effectively. It's value
Sure.
add for the
Yeah.
organization and value add for the people, right? So organization gets something, and everyone gets more diverse, equitable, and inclusive workplaces. And that was always hard. And so the folks that are now continue to move forward with DEI are finding that that's probably the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're actually going to be at a place, I think, of great advantage to some of the companies that pulled back entirely. Because when this inevitably swings around,
Mm-hmm.
as we said, and one of the other predictions was that there's start to be a comeback on some of these
Right.
things, which I fully agree with. I think I can see it
Yeah.
coming. And so I think that those organizations that are trying to think about, okay, we're still going to do this stuff, but we're going to integrate it into our business process and systems and how we think about leadership and management,
Yes.
I think they're going to be light years ahead.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I see a lot of
Yep.
good stuff. I see a lot of bad stuff, the same thing you
Yep.
see, right, where people just walk away. But I think that the advantage will go to those that are doing some of these stealth undercover moves that you and I are talking
Yeah,
about.
I agree. All right, what was your prediction, Rob, that you want to discuss where we are?
I talked about leadership reducing noise, and just as a reminder, what I was trying to say was that, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of change. There's almost too much change accelerating for in our workplace
Yeah.
that leaders had to make a very, and I related it very clearly to AI. Leaders have to be very clear about what they're doing with
Sure.
AI. They would need to give clear direction on why there are benefits to using AI. They need to be focused on training. They need to be focused on how the thinking needs to evolve
Sure.
within their organization to use these tools effectively.
Yeah.
That they couldn't get distracted. Right. My amendment to all of that,
Yeah.
Nadia, is that I mentioned this last week. I didn't realize all the destabilizing forces that leaders would be facing
Right.
were going to spin into
In
completely
like,
out of control, right?
yeah,
So
in like a 3 month period of time,
in
right?
like
Like
10 weeks,
everything just like, yeah.
within 10 weeks, right? So we have a war, absolute catastrophe for business, to say nothing of the human costs, obviously. Um, I didn't tell you this, we had another client with production in India this week,
Mm-hmm.
and they tell us that they were shut down,
Oh,
right? So they like literally, there's no fuel to run this
yeah.
particular
Gas prices.
factory.
Yeah.
We have long airport lines. We have ICE agents at the airports. It's a matter of time before they do something stupid,
Yeah.
I would guess. We're not even mentioning the stupid tariffs.
Yeah.
The Here's one for
Yeah.
you, Nadia.
Yeah.
Here where I live in the West, we're having the driest year on
Oh
record.
boy.
So there's a lot of predictions of historic levels of
I
forest
did
fire. So
fly
you may
over the
see,
Salt Lake City. I mean, Salt
yeah,
Lake, and I was like,
yeah.
ooh,
Did you wave? Yeah.
yeah, it looks a little dry.
Not much of a
Yeah.
lake. Not much of a lake at this point,
Yeah.
right? So, and at baseline, AI is remaking everything that we do.
Sure.
So, I didn't realize 3 months into the year that I would start feeling bad for
I
leaders.
know.
I
I
would start be
know.
like,
I
"Whoa,
know.
you've got a lot to deal with." It's really hard to calm things down.
It is. May I react to that? Because
Yeah,
like I
please.
think you're so right. I don't think in the earlier in the year we were like, oof, I think we were thought like, oh, AI is gonna be like the big thing. They're gonna just have to like figure that one out. and what
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
I think like the noise, you're right, like you said it, like the constant change, like that there's information overload, like constant competing priorities. And I think what I'm observing is these leaders now not even having to like adapt or be flexible or adjust, but really discern like what actually matters versus what's just a distraction. And I think this is where, things like emotional intelligence, like reading the room or understanding what your team needs and communicating with clarity. So, when we talked about like reducing noise, I don't think it's about doing like less. I think it's about being intentional with the priorities and the focus and how you show up as a leader. And that's going to help the most. So that's what I'm observing. Like these managers and leaders are really they're honing in on like those soft skills, right? Like really honing in on like, how do we support our teams because they're also going through all this major change and flux and sort of, competing priorities. So I'm also feeling bad for leaders and managers as well. But there's always help. Call me and Rob.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think so. And I think that, and then we'll talk about, but that's some of the things that our backgrounds can be very helpful with.
Absolutely.
Right? Like the strategic alignment, making sure that you're communicating, make sure that you are transparent in what the overall objectives are, and laser focused on executing and removing some of those noisy
Barriers or
distractions,
challenges.
so that your employment, so your workplace can actually focus and achieve what you need to achieve.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll talk more about that, Nadia.
Sounds great.
Welcome back to Leadership and Innovation Unlocked with Inclusive Collective. Inclusive Collective, that's you and me, Nadia.
That's me and you.
That's us. Nadia and I have an announcement. Season 5 is over, official, like now, right?
Yeah. It's the last episode of season 5, everyone.
Surprise. We don't know exactly when we'll be back. It could be a couple weeks, could be a couple months. Stay tuned, right? Like we're flexible.
Follow us.
It's part of it.
We'll keep you in the know.
We'll be in touch. We'll be in
touch.
touch, right? So
our people will call your people.
Yeah, exactly. We'll find you. You know where to find us. Put it that way. We know where to find you. Actually, we don't. So Nadia, let's talk about season 6, which again we don't know when that starts. But first, tell me, what are your aspirations for the show in season 6, which could start next week? But what would you like to see? Who are people you like to talk to?
We've been strategizing about the next season for a bit now, and I think especially like continuing the conversation on AI. I think that's something that we'll be doing, but also our listeners have been kind of sharing with us, and then like what it actually means for leaders and organizations in real time. I think, I know like we've been lining up some really incredible guests who are going to join us, who are doing really innovative work. And then just like looking forward and going deeper, right? Not just in like the tech, but on the human side, because that's the aspect that I love the most. And how like leaders really navigate the behavioral, changes or expectations related to AI or tech or the work that's being done. So that's what I'm excited. What are you excited about, Rob?
I think so. I'm excited. There's a lot of people that we haven't got to, right? Like we have a long list of people that are like, oh, these would be great people to talk to. I loved Brandon and Maggie, that conversation. And I think that there are other people leading big transformations, either from an operational excellence standpoint or AI. It's really fun to talk to folks that are in the middle of it, I think, which is probably why that Brandon and Maggie conversation resonated with me and with a lot of our audience as well. I also, as you know, love inclusive design. So if we need to get some entrepreneurs. I don't think we had any entrepreneurs this time, and founders. And so, want to see if we can do some more of those because those are really fun.
I think that's great.
And so, as we take a break, I mean, I'm sure you're not going to be on a beach the whole time.
No.
If people want to work with you, how do
Wish
they get
I
in
was
touch
on
with
a
you?
beach,
What
but
are you
I'm
working
not.
on? Who do you want to help? How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, that's great. So just a reminder for folks, like outside of this podcast, I run my consulting practice where I focus on leadership development, organizational effectiveness, of course, helping organizations build more inclusive, high-performing cultures. So a lot of the work is about, equipping and supporting managers with practical tools and frameworks, whether it's coaching or feedback or leading through change, so that they can drive results while also creating better experiences for their teams. So folks, call me for consulting, for coaching, for training. I am, just a heads up, getting my coaching certificate. I'm in the midst of it. So I'm really excited to
Nice.
do some one-on-one individual coaching, but also provide some coaching for more marginalized women of color, something that in my research showed up majorly. And so really excited to kind of focus some efforts on there. So call me if you need some coaching.
But you would coach me if I
I
asked. That's what.
don't I coach you every day indirectly? But of course, no, of course. I mean, I love building
You
relationships.
coach me by text.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
coach by text. No, I mean, in the to even coaching, and I'm learning also, like, there's also mentorship, right? I feel like we're at a point in our career too where we're offering a lot of mentorship opportunities to people. So that as well. But yes, absolutely coaching for all, but really more of a specialized kind of niche group, just because the research shows that group really needs it.
I think you'd be fantastic at it. So,
You.
yeah, so definitely reach out to Nadia. And
What?
yeah, and
Well, tell
so
us what are you working on? What projects are you working on? Who do you want to talk to?
I am, yeah, so the talk to piece, right, is those people that are in the midst of transformations because I'm doing a lot of operational excellence consulting.
Yep.
And
Which you're
started
really
to
good
shift a
at.
little bit
Yep.
there, working with Satya, and we work with CEOs and COs and mostly in financial services, pharma, chemicals. And what we're trying to do is align people, process technology to be able to take advantage of AI,
Hmm.
right? So you can't, as we know, starting to learn, you can't just drop this in and say, get after it, and things are going to work. You have to align the entire business system in order to be able to take advantage of it. And so do continue to do a lot of that. I work with you
Hmm.
mostly,
Yeah, we do a lot of work
mostly you
together. Yep.
on organizational effectiveness
Yep.
and that can be DEI or organizational strategy. I do hope that we get to work together. So there's some big
Yeah.
things that we can work on
Sure.
together. I'm also doing this live series and a workshop on April 16th with Aparna Ray. It's called Stealth Equity, where we are really focused on practical frameworks and tools to drive equity at this time, as we talked about, where it feels like it's difficult to make progress and people are starting to try to advance some of these initiatives, under the
Yeah.
radar, right, to build healthy organizations. So look for that. If you follow us on LinkedIn, then you can see when the those dates are coming. So it's kind of like a short run of a show to fill in to get me through this part where we take a little break on Inclusive Collective and on Leadership Innovation Unlocked.
That's really exciting. Yeah. So, yeah, folks, reach out to Rob and I for any support that you might be looking for related to some of those items.
Okay. All right, Nadia. We're going to take a longer break, but Leadership and Innovation Unlocked is a production of Inclusive Collective Media and edited by Ari Mathey. We'd love to hear from you. Brian in New York, send us another email. The folks that are going through the back catalog, make sure to send us your feedback. Tell us what you liked and over the course of the show. We are at inclusivecollectivepodcast at gmail.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all those places that got sued
Yeah.
recently. If you like
We're
what you
on
heard,
them.
be sure to subscribe. By the way, I should be able to sue LinkedIn for my mental health, right?
Right?
Like,
I
right? I spend a
know.
lot of time on
A
LinkedIn. I should be able
lot
to
of
sue
time
them.
on
So
LinkedIn. And they
sorry, just
charge
kidding,
me a
LinkedIn.
bundle for it too.
Uh, Make sure to subscribe, follow us, rate us wherever you get your podcasts, and share us with your friends. We really appreciate all of you that tune in. Thanks again to my co-host, Dr. Nadia Butt. Nadia, we'll see you soon.
Be well.